Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest internet radio station on the planet.
Even the other radio stations are tuning in.
Your choice, your music. UChoiceRadio.com.
UChoice Radio, 808's and Drape. It's the guys from the Whatever podcast. Don't leave. We got an NBA legend in the house, Cedric Maxwell. He's going to join us to talk basketball, sports. So let's go.
No, don't be nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Right.
So, everybody, all start and all have a good time with this.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So, welcome to 808's and Drape. My name is Tony Draper, DS News. We have two great co-hosts with us today. We have Cedric Maxwell, former Boston Celtic, Los Angeles Clippers, and Rockets, a two-time NBA champion. And we have Nicholas Jelson.
Oh, man, I'm a Finals MVP, man.
Yeah, don't forget the Finals MVP.
Finals MVP 1981.
That's real.
It's all good.
Ooh, and then you got me. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's needed. He's definitely a big writer, Celtics writer. He's started his own company 15 years ago. He's able to get greats on the phone like this, Cedric Maxwell. So salute to you also.
But salute to my friends like Max. He makes it all happen, man. It was that and being on the first wave of podcasters. The only thing I didn't get, I've been blessed and got a lot. The only thing I didn't get was rich. Yeah.
Yes. But just like basketball, we just do it for the love of the game. I'm a former player myself. I tried to walk on for University of Cincinnati in 2006. So I came close. I impressed a few players. No one made the team, but James White was the big name on campus at the time. So
nice, cool.
But,
and then let me give you some history, man. Did you know I got cut from my team in high school?
No, sir.
I was a junior in high school. I got cut from my high school team of Kinston, North Carolina, and now Kinston, North Carolina, my little city of 25,000 people, has had more NBA players per capita than any other city. It's like Jerry Stackhouse is from there, and we have all these other guys. Charles Shackelford ended up playing from there. Right now, Brandon Ingram is another guy from Kinston. So we have all these Kinstonians who are in the NBA. And now the 20,000 people, we've had people in the NBA for the last, I want to say probably the last 30 years.
Wow. So it's becoming the Mecca, underrated. Everyone.
Something in the water. Something in the water down. Or the cornbread. I don't know.
Everyone's 6'8" or higher. That's like, I'm from Toledo, Ohio, 45 minutes from Detroit. The biggest names we had was William Buford and Jim Jackson. And everyone's 6 foot or shorter. I was 6'2". I played power forward. So it's
I was 5'7". I played power forward too, and he was great.
The way things have changed in basketball now. Growing up, it was built where everyone was 6'8" in the paint. If you're 6'6" or lower, you're a guard. Now there's no positionless basketball. How do you feel about that? Do you miss the big man feeding into the post, or do you like the new just 35 threes a game?
I'm old school, so I'm more partial to high percentage shots. That's how I was bred, and that's how end up winning championships with the Celtics. You were trying to get the best shot ever. And you as a guard, back in the day, you get a big man handling the ball 2 or 3 feet away from the basket. You were like, first thing you say, yeah, time out, man. Get your big ass in the paint and stay right there. You let me do the dribbling, and then I'll pass you the ball. You just score. Don't do all that dribbling on the outside. Don't do my job. Stay in your lane.
Set a screen.
I gotta agree with Max too. I mean, obviously I didn't play, but I do cover the team, and I long for the days of the low post and the jump hook, the sky hook, and Max was the king of the jump hook.
Oh, that's gone, brother.
Max, that's the other thing too. You're partially to blame because you were like one of the first point forwards out there back in the day. And that's where the league has gone. But truthfully, even the analytical geeks, the stat nerds, get on my nerves. Because if there's anything that's true, look at the Celtics 2 years ago. On paper, we all had them winning the championship, or at least winning 60-plus games, and they were flops. Because analytics can't predict chemistry. And that I'm a body language guy. And so I miss the old days a lot. I think they should move the 3-point line back 3 feet.
Yes.
2 feet.
That you hit on a great point that I was wondering with now most journalists use stats and analytics over the eye test. They say the mid-range shot isn't efficient anymore. But the two things my dad made me practice was the jump hook and the mid-range elbow jump shot. So I definitely wanted your thoughts on that.
Max, you shoot first.
The great players I've known over the last couple of years, you think in the last 10 years or last 20 years, two of the greatest players, Kobe Bryant and Paul Pierce, were dynamic mid-range jump shooters. They weren't guys who were always taking threes. The game has changed so much to now it's the James Hardens in the world. It's the Steph Currys in the world. These guys shoot it getting out of bed. You think of one of the guys I think is Michael Thompson's son, Clay. Clay has done some amazing things. I think he had the 37-point quarter, one of the highest in the NBA ever. The highest in the NBA, broke a record. Yeah. Well, he did that, and they said he essentially dribbled about 8 times. Yeah. So he's the guy who comes off the picks and just shoots. So the game has changed tremendously from that time, from my time to where it is now. Yeah, I mean,
it's changed a ton. And not only that, the amount of whistles, the fouls being called, right? So when I was growing up watching basketball, it was a very fluid game. There was a lot of fast break. People will say, oh, the game was slow. No, it really wasn't. The ball moved. It was fast break. Now it's start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Yes.
So to me, that is very distracting, and it denigrates the quality of play, and it prolongs the game in a time period where people have lesser attention span. All that said, it's still the best sport in the world.
Definitely.
It's the NBA, man. Yes. Fantastic.
I always tell my son that you can judge a good basketball game by the amount of times the ball has to stop. Like you said, in the 90s, the pace was slower, but it wasn't any turnovers. It wasn't that many, unless it was a foul. It just wasn't like the ticky-tack stuff that just slows the game down. So
the Malice at the Palace changes all that, didn't it? I mean, I think that's probably part of it. And I think Max would know better than me, but it seemed to me that if I think the commissioner, and that would be Stern, back to him, I think the one thing that he really wanted to do was lessen the physicality a bit. Yeah. Do you agree, Max?
Yeah, I think he wanted to see the game get a lot more fluid. He wanted to see the guys who are athletic be able to use those athletic tools. But I think during the time you kind of manufactured things. Because during the 80s, you think about looking at Lakers and Celtics play. It was a track meet. It was a fast track. You would go one end, you go back the other end. Guys were flying up and down. Then they got the point where the Celtics and Lakers started, fouling so much in these games and started being physical that it changed the nature of the game. And to the point where they had to get technicals, they had to get flagrant fouls. I was just talking to my good buddy Rick Mahorn, who used to play with Detroit, and that's what we were laughing about, saying now guys are so soft. And the way you look at college basketball to me should never be more physical than NBA basketball. And I think college basketball is a lot more physical than the NBA basketball, considering the athletes that you have in the NBA are so much more superior.
Yeah. Everybody loves to say, how would this one fare today? Back in the 80s, and I think athletically they are more gifted, obviously, but I don't know that they would ever get down the court for offense. They'd spend so much time complaining to the refs about no calls, right? Because the physicality is so much different. So yeah, I think that the commissioner definitely had and one more thing too. We were just talking about the jump hook and the sky hook. Nobody shoots it today. So keep teaching your kid that, or whoever you said you're teaching, because that's a high percentage shot.
Don't do that. Don't do that, son.
Why?
Because it's like the dodo bird. People don't want to see a mid-range jump shot anymore. People want.
You don't think it's cyclical?
No. 15-footers, they frown at that. I don't mean how many times I've seen people say, well, instead of shooting the 18-footer, you could have stepped back and taken the three-point shot. So I'm not sure the game has changed so much and so drastically that even some of the old school guys that I played with, I would love to see how they would have fit in the game. Like Kareem, one of the greatest of all time. He wasn't a three-point shooter. Elijah wasn't a three-point shooter. A lot of these guys right now are specialists, and there's complaints saying, "Oh, well, Steph Curry, he couldn't have played during the '80s." Well, dude, where he's shooting from,
right?
They did. You don't even play. Even when you were playing back at, you went out for the trip. You don't guard guys from half court.
No,
you get down from the defensive line, so thinking like, okay, he ain't gonna shoot from here. But how many times have we seen guys get down defensively at the three-point line, waiting for Steph Curry or for any of these guys in the league right now, and they're pulling up 5 feet away?
Definitely. And around 2000, my day Kobe was my favorite player, and he would shoot 9 threes a game sometime, and the analysts and everyone would go crazy. He's shooting too many threes. And now we have Curry doing it from 35 feet, 14, 15 times a game.
The irony of that, not to interrupt you, but the irony of that is, one of the Celtics, Jason Tatum, got criticized all last season for working out with Kobe Bryant and then shooting long-distance jumpers not behind the three-point line. And yet, back in the day, you're saying
that's who we got.
Kobe was getting criticized for. So it is indicative of how the game has changed even in that short span of time.
Yes.
The big change, I think, Max, when was the big change? Because if you look at the 08 Celtics, the 10 Celtics, it almost resembled the game that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, but I think that when you got guys in, like the Steph Currys, like the James Hardens, like the Klay Thompsons, who were better adept at shooting three, the game changed. When I played during the 80s, it was a hoist to get up a three. Now it's like these guys are just fingertips and wrists, and you'd be like, wow, and no strain at all to them shooting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Jordan didn't shoot threes. Think about that.
And Larry only shot 2 a game. I looked up.
But he
used to shoot 2 or 3.
He would have adapted, I think. He would have adapted.
Yeah.
Like Max, would you have adapted to today?
Larry would be one of the few guys that I would say you could throw him in the game now, and as great as Larry Bird was during that time, I think he'd be better now because people keep talking about all these other players in the league and Luka Doncic and what Luka Doncic would be. Larry Bird would be an upgrade if you're talking about Luka Doncic. As great as Luka is, it'd be like sitting in coach, and then all of a sudden they're calling your name and saying, "Hey, we got the first class seat for you." So, that would be the difference in Larry Bird and Luka Doncic. No offense at all to Luka, great player, but and Rick Carlisle, who was his coach, played with Larry. So I don't think that Rick probably would probably protect Luka and say I was different. But if he really looked at Larry Bird, I think still would be a better player than Luka because he's a better rebounder. And as clutch as Luka is, I still believe Larry is more of a clutch shooter.
Awesome.
He played with them.
So you don't believe a lot of people are biased and will say the 80s are better than this and the 90s, and you take any of these players that win? Are you? It sounds like you're being like you should and say case by basis. Like Bird could come and dominate, but others may have a problem.
I think it's case by case. I don't think every team would be as good. I mean, they always say you can't complain. You can't, compete with eras. You can't brace those together. I think that is true, but I still think that there are great players and then there are great running teams.
Mhm.
But now you have to the one weapon that these guys have now that the teams didn't have before was the ability to knock down threes. During my championship game in 1981, when you weren't even born, young man, there were only in the championship game, the last game versus the Houston Rockets, or matter of fact, not the Rockets. I'm gonna give the 1984 Lakers Celtic game, the last game of that series in Boston. There were 7 3-pointers attempted for the entire game. You couldn't even imagine that now in playing basketball because they're hoisting up 7 in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I think the other difference too is it's so written into the playbook today. You know, today's game I think is well more coached than Max's era, than the 80s. Don't you think, Max, it's more the coach has more of a role in calling plays every time down the court, and the three is integrated? How many plays did you have that had the 3-point shot?
How many plays did I have?
Yeah, I mean, not for you, but the Celtics.
Hey, look, you're talking about one guy who hit 1 3-pointer for his entire career. Only attempted like 8 or 9. So for me,
I think you had that's the category you beat.
That's a foreign area. I think again, it just depends on how the game has changed. Teams right now line up to take the three. Steph Curry, if you watch him warm up, it's amazing to see where he's shooting the basketball. His drills, Steph Curry's drills before a game in Golden State, what they do, they allow people to come in 30 minutes earlier just to see Steph Curry warm up. Not to play, but to warm up with his 3-point shooting ability, which is crazy.
I have to mention, growing up, my dad used to take me to the Pistons. Wasn't courtside but season tickets, about 14 games a year, and they would allow us to do that. And I met your friend Rick Mahorn. I have his autograph.
Okay.
Whole bad boy Pistons. So that's why it's nice to have you here. I have to say once again, I probably had your card as a kid, so I have to add a GOAT conversation because The Last Dance, we all had to watch that. So
look at both of us.
I was like, oh God, not again. I have to know. I'm hoping you say something. I'll just let you have it. I'm sure it would be a good tape.
I'll let Max go.
It's different for me, and I believe Michael Jordan is one of the greatest to play the game, but I don't believe he's the greatest. I take a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon because he controlled more of the floor than anybody in the history of the game. Or I would take Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because Kareem is only played about 20 years and was about that 18, 19-year all-star. And still it has the most points ever to be played in the league. And it's no offense to Michael, but I was around during the early years when Michael Jordan used to get his ass kicked every year. And he was being beat in the first round of the playoffs. So let's not get carried away. Not to say he's not one of the best, which I believe he is. Yeah. But for the best, my opinion differs. Like Isaiah Thomas's opinion differs. He said Jordan wasn't the best.
Right.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Max. I would take Kareem as the best ever. Right?
I think I would take I'd take LeBron.
Oh no! He's saying that just to get me down.
I just wanted to see your face.
This was a 2-part answer, right?
I just wanted to see your face.
I couldn't believe it.
The glasses come off, or I get one of these, right? So here's the thing: Kareem, 6 MVPs, 6 titles. I mean, it's hands down. I think nothing against Jordan, like Max said, but part 2 of that answer is I'm taking Jordan over LeBron. All day long, over any of the players today, all day.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm with you. I'm born in '87, so I have to phrase it a different way to be respectful. The best I've seen with my own eyes is easily my Mount Rushmore is Jordan, Kobe, Magic, and LeBron. And
all right, well, give me Hey, how about this? Give me your Mount Rushmore of total sports then.
Period. You have to go.
Period.
Jerry Rice. I'm a 49ers fan.
Okay.
I have to be. Let me be careful. We got Jerry.
I love this question.
Who?
I would say Muhammad Ali, Jerry Rice.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Jordan and Tiger Woods.
Okay.
That's a good Mount Rushmore.
I mean, my only difference in mine and yours was instead of Jerry Rice, I took the best female of all time. I took Serena Williams.
Ooh,
I love that.
Yeah.
I refuse to give my Mount Rushmore because this podcast won't end. He and I will argue all for the next 2 hours. I'm on the same track as you guys, though. I mean, it's hard to leave out Babe Ruth. I mean, how do you do that? Plus, there's no baseball representation there.
Yes, yes.
I would
be one.
I would definitely pull Magic out and put Larry in.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, you got to have Kareem.
Who said Magic? Who said Magic?
Tony said Magic.
Who said Magic? Okay.
Oh, just for my basketball one.
Yeah. Oh, right. Oh, basketball, right. If we're doing just basketball, I'll do that one. It's got to be Russell, Bird, Michael, Kareem.
Yes, that's being the 80s baby. That's who they like marketed to us. That pretty much was our only choice at first. And I had to tell my followers or whatever that don't confuse marketing for superstars. Just because a lot of players today have a commercial doesn't mean they were better than the players in the 80s and the 90s. The propaganda and the media makes us believe everyone is great. Like Blake Griffin, he's
Donald Trump. I'm kidding.
But you could go either way with that. Like, you can't trust any of those guys on both sides. Yeah, but the Celtics. I have to know before you guys go. You touched on it earlier. You guys had the great window. LeBron last year in Cleveland took them to Game 7. Is the window over? Because now we have Giannis and the new rivalry. And I think you guys are better than the 76ers. But do you guys think the window is over?
No, I think it's just opening.
The window's open. I think when you look at – you ask LeBron right now about Jason Tatum. Yeah. And you see what he says. Or Brown. Yeah. Or you want to go with Gordon Hayward or Kemba. I mean, you still got some unbelievable players who are on this team that are only Marcus Smart are only going to get better. So, and especially the game has changed now. It's no longer a power game. I mean, you look at what Houston's trying to do. I mean, dude, you're right in there. And these 6'5" and under, they're doing that all day in Houston. If you over 6'6" in Houston, you can't play with them no more. No. I mean, they traded away an all-star in Capella. They sent Clint Capella. They sent him away because he was too tall. They want all 3-point shooters. Every position they have, you have to be able to shoot the three.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think this break actually helps the Sixers.
Yes.
Why?
Because they were stuttering. They were struggling. I think that it gives them time to part.
It doesn't make them – I still think that they still have – fundamentally still have flaws in what they do.
Especially in chemistry, I think.
Well, when you think about Simmons, how does Simmons line up, Ben Simmons line up in the playoffs? I think that's what
you're looking at the Rondo scenario.
You're talking about somebody who isn't a 3-point threat, and because of that, and he's reluctant to shoot it. Guys back off of him. Now, is he still a great player, especially during the regular season? I think he is, but I think the Philadelphia flaws are shown to me during the playoffs, and that's what's coming up, and that hasn't changed. When you think about Embiid's a monster. He's a monster.
I like Embiid.
He's a beast, but I still believe that you're still looking at their guards and you're going, okay, where are you going at in the new NBA?
Well, and where does Al fit into all that? Because he's wasted talent at the end of his career.
Al doesn't fit into that. Al took the money there, and God bless him. He took the money, but he doesn't fit into what Al fits in. The 76ers did themselves a favor. They took Al Horford away from the Celtics. Not to utilize him, but just to take him away as a weapon because he played Embiid as well as anybody.
That's a great point no one said. And I'd have to agree with that because he's not fit in chemistry-wise. He seems to play better when Embiid is off the court. Yet when he was with Boston, he was the Embiid stopper. I mean, so that is true, and teams do that. You know, they basically took a weapon out of Danny Ainge's pocket by overpaying him.
Addition by subtraction, definitely. That was definitely a good one. I definitely do believe you guys are second behind Giannis and Embiid. I think he's like Shaq. After the success, he's just a little too lazy. Seen a few videos of eating a hamburger before the game. Like, come on, man. It's like God-given talent sometimes bites you in the butt. And then
someone else just said this.
Dude, you wouldn't like me at all. You know what I ate before the championship game in 1984? I had a Big Mac, a large fry, orange soda, and a large fry. I mean, and this was maybe about 6 minutes before I walked out on the floor.
Woo. And what was that, Game 7?
Game 7.
Oh, yeah, like, how many? 24, 8, and 8 or something they ended up with? The Mickey D's did good for you.
Cornbread.
Cornbread.
That's amazing.
You would love that story. Jason Tatum, and I just told the story to Rick Moore. Jason Tatum sees, he had seen me. He'd been on the team for a bit, and he'd say hello to me, just hi. Yes, and 30 for 30 with the Lakers, and the Celtics came out. And he sees this, and he says, then afterwards, maybe a day or two later, he sees me on the court. And he walks up to me. He's going, cornbread. I said, dude, what's wrong with you? He said, man, I saw that 30 for 30. Damn, you were bad as hell.
It's hilarious too because during obviously this difficult time with the coronavirus, it's been all the legends all day, every day.
Definitely.
I have more people going, "You're friends with Cedric Maxwell? He was a bad man." He would tell him about the grocery store, Maxwell.
The grocery store told me yesterday. Said, man, you played a hell of a game last night. Dude, that was 30 years ago.
That's all we got right now.
I don't play no ball no more, man. Come on.
Man.
For somebody like me, I cherish the history of the game. I've almost been known for that among my generation. And so seeing all these players and these old games come back has been a treat. But I'm ready for real basketball again now. I'm ready. You know, I'm ready for the real deal.
I'll watch it with the empty stadium. It's like and I'm here in Disney. I'm here in Tampa.
Disney.
I heard they may do it at Disney. I'm all for it. It's like
it's gonna be Disney.
Yes. Ooh, that's.
We're just wondering if the media is gonna go. We don't know. We think no. I think no.
That's the story. I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, I believe, like you're saying, I think the games are going to be at Disney. I think it's a good, secure property. But I just can't imagine putting I don't know, it's not going to be 300, but let's say 200 of the best players to play in the world in one spot. That would be crazy.
They almost make you.
That's like
all the time.
That's like the State of the Union. They have to put the vice president somewhere else because the entire leadership is there, right? So you can put all these NBA players. Only the NBA players have a different.
Right.
It'd be a little wild.
Wow. Okay.
Why? It would be a little wild. A little bit different.
I want to thank you again.
All right, gentlemen.
Max, I'll talk to you later.
MVP Cedric Maxwell with this. We thanks it once again, man. It's been a delight.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest internet radio station on the planet.
Even of other radio stations are tuning in.
Your choice, your music. UChoice Radio.com.